A horse being pushy for treats is only a symptom, it's not the actual problem. And I showed you one video where the problem was boundary issues between the horse and the human giving the treats. Here I'm going to do another video of another problem where being pushy for treats is also a symptom. I'm going to do some of this video inside his stall, partly because it's very windy outside and partly because a lot of people have problems with their horses inside their stalls, and it might help you, give you some ideas of what you can do with your horse inside the stall, even in the wintertime when it's too cold to be outside doing training. A horse should be able to understand the basic concept of yes, you may have a treat, no, you may not have a treat, wait a minute, and they're all gone, just as a dog would. If the horse cannot understand those basic concepts, then there's a problem. And being pushy for treats is only a symptom of the problem. My horse is trying to get my attention. Hear him back there? We're just going to ignore him. And he stopped. If you ignore bad behavior, it loses the effect. They realize that it's not getting them what they want, and they'll eventually stop. You might try it again, see if it works, try it out a few times, but if it doesn't work 1, 2, 3 times, he'll give up on it. He won't do it anymore. Oh, look at you asking for a snack. Aren't you clever? Aren't you clever? You're a clever boy asking for a snack like that. Look at that. He says, I think I'm so smart. Notice how he goes inside for the treat? He knows he doesn't get fed over the top of the stall wall. You're a good boy. He says, I'll take more, please. I'll take more, please. Oh, look at him back way up. He says, I'll take more, please. You're a good boy. Oh, kisses. Notice he backs up. He gives a kiss. He backs up, even in the stall. That's a good boy. Can you back up for me so I can get in? Back up her. Good job. That's very, very nice. That's a good boy. That's very, very nice. All right. Good job. Very nice. Very good. He backs up her. Alright. Alright, I'm going to get out now. Thank you. Notice how he stays back while I get out. And he continues to stay back until I'm out. And I motion for him to step up. That's a good boy. That's very nice. You want more? Yes, he says, I want more. He goes back inside to get a treat. All of this has become automatic because he's done it so many times. Ogren! I'm going to take you outside later, and I'm going to set up a test, and I'm going to show you that a horse that's pushy for treats also does the same behavior in other situations. It's just not as noticeable to you as when you're holding a treat in your hand. First, before we do the test, I'd like to clarify what I mean when I say the word respect. Because when I say the word respect, I mean something totally different from what you hear people that are using the word, that are using natural horsemanship training. In my opinion, people who do natural horsemanship training really butcher the English language because the things that they're saying don't represent what they're doing. In natural horsemanship training, you'll see them put a horse in the round pen and they'll have the horse go around and they'll do different things with them, and the horse will eventually do what they want, and they'll say, that horse respects them now. Well, that horse doesn't respect them in the real sense of the word, how that word respect is supposed to be used, because respect involves an amount of free will. There's no such thing as absolute free will, but there has to be some amount of free will for a person or an animal to give you respect. Respect is earned and it's given. It's not forced or coerced. When you put a horse in a round pen, it has no real way to get away from you. whether it's stopped, turned away from you, or in movement, it has to be engaged with you. There's no way for it to not be engaged with you. So there is no element of free will. Good boy. Back up, back up, back up, back up. Yay, good job. Yay, come. Chasing horses. May I have your foot? Thank you. I know you can get water on it. Come on. Come on. Come here. You can't get drink on it. You can't have drink on it. Respect means to honor with high esteem or high regard. It's not simply just to obey. For example, you can obey the speed limit, and it could be said that you're respecting the law. You're respecting the speed limit. But there are also many other reasons why you could be obeying the speed limit. Say, for example, you're driving down the road in your car, your truck, or whatever, and you're not paying attention to what the speed limit is. And you're not really paying attention to your speedometer, but you happen to be driving the speed limit. You're not really respecting the law. You're accidentally doing the right thing. Say, for example, that you're driving down the road and you have some person next to you, maybe a very elderly person who's not comfortable with driving the speed limit, and they're constantly nagging at you, slow down, you're going to get in an accident, slow down, slow down, slow down. And you've got another half hour left to go driving to where you're going. And you don't want to listen to that person for the next half hour, so you slow down 10 miles an hour, and now you're underneath the speed limit. You didn't do that out of respect for the law. You didn't do that out of respect for that person. You did it because that person was nagging you, and you didn't want to listen to them nag you for the next half hour. And this is where it gets complicated when you have a horse do something, like, say, you make the right thing easy and the wrong thing more difficult, and the horse chooses the easier option. That can be very similar to that person nagging at me to drop my speed limit down to 10 miles an hour underneath the speed limit. I'm not showing respect to the speed limit, and I'm not showing respect to that person. I'm just doing it because they're being a pest. So a horse doing what you want them to do in the round pen, or choosing the easier option, doesn't necessarily mean that they respect you. If you're driving the speed limit because you're afraid a cop might pull you over and give you a ticket, are you really respecting the law, or are you acting out of fear? Fear that you might get another ticket you can't afford. These are the things you need to consider when you're working with a horse. Is the horse truly acting out of respect for you and what you're doing? Or is the horse acting out of some form of fear? You'll need a helper for this test if your horse doesn't ground tie. My horse ground ties, so I can do it by myself. Put a halter and lead rope on your horse. You're not going to use the lead rope for anything other than a precautionary measure. We're going to be opening up the front gate and bringing your horse through the front gate. And we don't want a situation where like your neighbor's dog comes rushing up and scares your horse and you have no lead rope on him. You're not actually going to use the lead rope for anything other than a precautionary measure. You're going to hold your lead rope like this, open in your hands. And if the horse pulls on the lead rope, you're just going to let it slide right through your hands. You're not going to apply any pressure. You're not going to clamp your hands onto the lead rope. You're going to leave your hands open like this. If your horse ground tie your horse and walk over and open the front gate and then come back to your horse. If he doesn't, have someone open the gate for you while you stay with your horse. Walk the horse up to the front gate. Let him start to go out the gate and then say, whoa, and then have him back in and turn away from the gate. If your horse can't do that, if it rushes through or it balks or it starts to become fresh, then there's a symptom of your problem. When you tell a horse no, it can't have a treat, what you're really doing is telling the horse no, it can't have something that it wants. There just happens to be a treat involved. When you do this test, you're also telling the horse no, it can't have something it wants, but there's no treat involved. It wants to go outside that front gate, and it can go outside that front gate. If your horse stops the way my horse stopped, and he thinks about it for a second, and then he backs up and he goes along with whatever you want rather than go out the gate like he wanted, he's respecting your right to say no. He's respecting you as leader in the true sense of the word. If your horse balked, pulled on you, got nippy, got pushy, whatever at the gate, don't feel bad. Many horses would. And the problem is deeply rooted in the way horses are trained these days. This problem can't be fixed with force, and it can't be fixed in the round pen. You can cover it up, you can put a band-aid on it and make it look better, but you're not actually fixing the problem. This problem can't be fixed with force. You can't force the horse to respect you. You can force the horse to obey you, but you can't force the horse to respect you. This situation is one where the horse doesn't understand cooperation. It's probably never been shown that you can cooperate with it and that it can cooperate with you, and both of you can have a win-win situation. Many times you can look at a problem situation such as this and find a situation in the human world, in our world, that might be comparable to it and might help you better understand what the problem really is. I'm going to try and give you an example of something that I would compare to that situation at the gate. Say you're at a fair or you're at a flea market with your significant other. You've been there for the day, and your significant other is all done. They're heading for the gate and they want to go home. And you got your arm like lightly looped through theirs, and you're walking along, and you see something that catches your attention, and you go, "Oh, look, hun!" And you kind of pause a little bit, and your significant other stops and turns around and goes, "What is it, hun?" That's similar to the situation at the gate. When you say, "Oh, look at that," that's the whoa. When you pause and the person pauses for a moment and turns around and is like, "What is that?" That's the horse stopping and thinking and then turning to see what you want. It's the same thing. In neither situation did you pull on them. You didn't force them, you didn't coerce them, you didn't beg them. You simply stated that you wanted something, and the other person, who had something totally different in mind to do, turned and looked to see what you wanted out of genuine respect. And that's what you want from a horse. You want genuine respect. You don't want the horse to simply obey you. You want them to respect you. And to do that, you have to show them that you can also respect them. You can start to fix this problem by working up to being able to lead your horse around with the lead rope just resting in both your hands and not touching the horse in any way, and having the horse be able to follow you through obstacles, back up, turn around, and do whatever you want them to do. And think differently about pressure. So often in training I see them say, Start with the slightest touch when you're moving a horse over. Press on them just slightly and then increase the pressure until the horse moves over. Well, horses don't see pressure in that same way. The pressure doesn't start with the touch in the horse world. Pressure starts when you're walking up to that horse. When you're walking up to that horse, you're already applying pressure. When you direct your focus to a certain spot on that horse, you're applying even more pressure. Your focus isn't no longer big and wide, it's on a specific part of the horse, and that is directing your pressure to that one spot. So you're increasing the pressure with all these different things that you do before you've even touched the horse. So try, when you're teaching your horse to lead freely like that with the lead rope just resting in your hand, try to get the horse to move from just your focus on wanting them to move before you do anything else. You can start to try and fix this problem by recognizing that a horse has the cognitive ability of a 2-year-old child. And don't treat the horse like a child or like it's a human, but treat it like it's as smart as a 2-year-old child. And think, when I teach this to the horse, would a 2-year-old child understand this if I were trying to teach it to them? And maybe what would I do to try and get that 2-year-old child to understand this process? Can I also use that same process to teach that to this horse?
Good boy. Nice job, Ruby. Nice job.
Realize that it's important to understand why and how a horse thinks the way they do, but don't necessarily think and behave like a horse when you're training that horse. Use your higher level of thinking to think things through. You wouldn't take a 2-year-old child and try to think like that 2-year-old child to get them to brush their teeth before they go to bed at night. Don't do that with your horse. Try to get away from the concept that your horse is just simply responding to a cue that you're giving it, and try to help that horse learn how to learn. Once a horse learns how to learn, they'll be eager and enthusiastic to learn more, and the learning process will become easier and easier, and you'll find that horses will use what they learn in one situation in another situation when they're treated in this way.
May I have your foot? Thank you.